Torn away. Is it going to be a win or a bin? Let's have a quick read through of the description on Steam. Torn Away is an interactive story with a unique blend of adventure games, side scrollers, and cinematic first person levels. Experience the tragedy of World War II through the eyes of a child and survive without losing your humanity. Okay, now I will say I have played this well in advance, so start of September, and all of this has been recorded and edited around that time. I'm not allowed to release a video until the release of the game, which is the 29th, so it's when this will be out, and I hope that you'll be watching it then. I have been told that I must be careful in what I show in this video as to not give anything away in terms of the plot or gameplay, but I can tell you, you take on the role of a young girl called Asya. You start off at the beginning of the war, the outbreak of war in Moscow, and you're with your parents, and it all kind of falls apart from there. As we know, Russia was invaded by Nazi Germany, and the whole country, or certainly Stalingrad and the western side of Russia, took a bit of a pasting. There wasn't much left, and it's this girl's struggle. She's trying to get through the war, and there's so much heartbreak going through the game for her. You feel absolutely terrible for her as the game goes on. As I say, I can't give away too much about the plot necessarily, but she's struggling and very much alone in the world for whatever reason, and you go through that experience with her. And for the 2-3 hours I was playing this, I lived every moment with her and all of the supporting characters and her friend, which is a mitten that she wears and she talks to it. It's her company, it's who she communicates with. She has a diary which you can read when she puts entries in, all in Cyrillic. I can speak a little tiny bit of Russian, so there were words in this that I could pick up and things that I could understand in the authentic tone, and it was quite good for me in that sense, but there are English subtitles. So let's go into the things that I like about this game. Now, the artwork is absolutely beautiful. I didn't think much of it at first. I thought it looked a little bit crayon-y, just cheap artwork, really. But as you go on and you go into different environments, the scenes were set beautifully, the colours that were used, the lighting that was used, absolutely fantastically. And the animations on the characters as well. This isn't a top-end graphics game at all, and it's not supposed to be. But for a game that's cartoony, the style of that cartoon work is absolutely on point and up there with a lot of things that I played. It looks excellent, and you'll discover it more as you go into the scenes. Certainly a lot of the darker scenes during the war and battles, and you will be taken into the environments. They are done so well that you can feel everything. You can almost smell where you are at times, because I think it's done so beautifully. The music, coupled with the look of this game, just ties in seamlessly. You've got the sound effects from background noises. You've got the footprints through the snow, or footsteps through the snow, even doors creaking. The dialogue, the voice acting is brilliant. Even if you don't speak Russian, it's really good, and you can feel that the actors they've got aren't just some people they've got off the street. They're people who do this professionally and are really giving everything. They're good quality. This is not a cheap, gimmicky thing in the slightest, but everything ties together so well. But that music is so atmospheric. Very smooth to play as well, I must say. There was no clunkiness. I didn't find myself stuck on items. So, some sort of platform games, side scroller sort of things, you get stuck on objects and you can't get round things. But this is really smooth. I love how the fact you can go between different rooms in the house and the camera just sort of pans out a bit and goes back in when you go into the other room. And there's no loading screens for those sorts of situations. So it's been optimized and thought of properly, and it makes it so your gameplay isn't interrupted and it's all seamless between the different environments. Obviously, there are cutscenes between certain environments, but that's part of the cinematic thing. This is a very cinematic game. It's very much like watching a film, but you are involved in the film, of course, because you're playing the game. But it's incredibly cinematic. There's a lot of minutes in this of watching, but it's all relevant to what you're doing, and it's taking you into the story. And because of the good things so far, it just doesn't matter too much that a lot of the time you are watching stuff in between. The characters are exceptional. The young girl, as I say at the beginning, you are drawn into her world and you feel for her. She's a very, very strong character, and you can get sucked in completely by her world, and you can be absorbed into what she's experiencing. All of the characters around her as well all have a place in this game, all very strong, all have a part to play in this. The story overall is incredibly emotional and deep. There are times during this, and I can't tell you because I've been told I can't, but there is a couple of bits in here where you just absolutely gobsmacked by how sad some of it is. And as I've said a few times so far, you just absorbed into this world and it feels like it's happening to you almost, and you can empathize so much with the character's situation, all of the characters' situations. And it's very sad at times, and it does just highlight how terrible it would have been. And this, although it's a fictional game, you know that the story in here is probably completely non-fictional, with so many people who had to experience it at the time. As you can tell, I absolutely do love this game. I think it's superb. And if the price is right when it comes out, I think it's probably worth it. But there are things that aren't so great in this. So the first one is jumping. Sometimes you do have to jump over things, holes in the ground, pits, those sort of things. You can't jump very far. And sometimes you do have to go back and redo it several times until you just about nail it by the skin of your teeth. Luckily, though, if you do die, because you can actually die in inverted commas, you get reset to about literally 10 seconds before that point, so you never get punished, which is nice. But jumping does need to be increased in terms of distance covered. There are puzzles in inverted commas in this game where you have to do things, find things, do things in the right order. They're a bit easy. I think it's supposed to be a bit easy because it's quite casual in the way of the gameplay itself. It's not. It's meant just to be a game to let you experience it, not to sit there struggling on puzzles. But for me, I would have liked something a little bit more thought-provoking in that sense. And one tiny little thing, just to try and give this a bit of balance, there were some very fuzzy, crackling noises at times during cutscenes. Very, very, very faint background noises, a bit fizzy sort of thing. But, this is just me picking up a couple of very, very isolated moments of problems with the sound. Overall, I think this is going to be a good game upon release. As long as it keeps below the £15, I think it would be worth it. If you're just somebody who likes a casual platformer, point-and-click adventure with a very good story with it, some great characters, great visuals, great sounds, music, this is for you. And I don't think I've played too many games that have given you so much emotion with the characters and the story itself. This is probably a first in that sense. Maybe it's because it's the scenario or the setting I'm quite interested in, maybe, but it did feel like one of the sort of more human emotionally touching games that I played. But I would keep an eye on this for price. If it's below the amount I said, £15, well worth getting.